Well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another fine edition of No Life Digital Podcast. Hello, everyone. Every Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern, coming at you with the latest in tech, gaming, news, culture. Tune in right here, No Life Digital. We also have a Twitch page, twitch.tv/nolife_digital. Actually, maybe I should bring it up so you can see what it looks like and you can give it a follow here. I do want to showcase, so here you are. Beautiful little Twitch page. Boom. Tune in here. And I also want to direct your attention to, of course, our website, nolife.digital. You could subscribe to our podcast here. You could check out all our articles. Everything that kind of we do gets put up over on the website. A nice little separate hub for everything No Life. And our Twitter, our main social media, twitter.com/nolifedigital. Also, I just uploaded a video. Well, I uploaded it a couple weeks ago, but it's taking a look at the latest Canon update. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. We're going to talk a little bit about this at the end of the show. We have some camera talk near the end of the show, so if you're interested in that, tune in. And yeah, what's up, dudes? What's going on?
Not much. Just living in hockey trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. How about them Flyers?
Hockey.
How about them Flyers? Are awesome, dude.
Yeah. Fire Vignay, please, for the love of God. Fire him and Fletcher. I'm done.
What do you mean? They're so good, dude.
Dude, I as soon as they lost to the 18 in a row losers, the Buffalo Sabres, I'm done. And they got destroyed in that game too, 6-0. So
yeah,
it was that point I was like,
there's multiple like 8-0 games.
Listen, when they hired AV after the failure that was Dave Hackstall, I was like, okay, I don't like this signing. His cons remind me way too much of Hackstall's over-reliance on veteran talent, refusal to to adapt, a lot of the same problems. And then the first year, it looked great. They were the hottest team until COVID hit, and then they went into the playoffs, and then the power play was absolutely atrocious in the playoffs last year. And now this year, it's just a crash down to earth. This is exactly the coach who I thought we were hiring. It's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
They need to move on from the old talent, and they need to rebuild the roster.
Their morale is so low. There's no even coming back from
I think it's time for them to finally move on from Giroux and give the captain to somebody else.
They kind of got to just blow up the entire thing, honestly.
They really should.
Which sucks because
they're going to ruin Carter Hart. I mean, they're already ruining Carter Hart.
Well, yeah. They did that when they fired Hextall in the first place, who was correct in saying that, hey, he's not ready.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready. He got thrown into it, and now you've got AV saying, oh, he just needs to work harder.
Yeah.
That's...
Not the defense.
No, of course, never the defense, I mean, is it as bad as when we had Andrew McDonald? Maybe, yeah, actually, it might be.
Well, at least you have the Sixers.
Thank God.
The Philly teams.
God.
At least you have the Sixers.
I mean, the Phillies just started, and they're playing better than I expected they would. I mean, the last two games haven't been great, but
yeah,
it's April. Caring about baseball before June is worthless.
Caring about baseball ever is worthless.
Yeah. If your team actually in a good spot in June, it's okay to start to care.
I started caring about baseball the very slightest, and not at well, that's still not at all really, but just because of Akil Badadu. Just because, like, how can you not?
Yeah,
I mean, it's the kid's a rookie. We stole him from someone else. His first pitch he ever sees, he hits a homer. The next game, he hits a grand slam. And then the third game, he hits a triple, like, with 2 runs batted in. Like, yeah, sure, dude. Okay, apparently he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, baseball is, there's just so...
It's hard for me to care about it.
It's tough for me to care. It's also definitely tough to care when it's like game 9 or 10 of 162.
Yeah.
You know, when we get closer to games like 90, yeah, now I care.
Well, in
So I do have a one weird question for you guys, since you guys are Flyers fans for some reason.
only by
Um,
proximity is the only reason.
True. Doobie, I don't know why he made that choice.
I guess it's
How's it
better than
going,
being
Patrick?
a fucking Devils fan.
I would argue I'd be much happier as a Devils fan right now.
I knew the weirdest sports fan I ever met in my life was a Giants fan, a Phillies fan, and a Devils fan. And I never quite understood how he was a fan of three wildly different like areas in sports.
Well, that's the beauty of New Jersey. I mean, you don't
It
have
really
any
is.
teams, so you have the Nets or something. Well, you don't even have the Nets anymore. The Nets are Brooklyn, so it doesn't even.
Yeah,
Yeah, you got
I mean,
the Devils, and
it's
then
Yeah, the
pick your
Devils.
pill.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I'm right in this, but a lot of the fans I've met who are New York fans, it's if they're a Giants fan, they're generally also a Yankees fan, and if they're a Jets fan, they're also usually a Mets fan. Maybe it's
Yeah, true, true.
I don't I've never met like Giants fans who are also Mets fans, and I don't really
No.
meet Yankee fans who are like fans of
It's
the
usually
Jets.
like Giants, Yankees, and then the Rangers is usually kind of how it goes. If they're not a Devils fan, you know.
Yeah,
And then you've got the Islanders.
And then you have
who
the
nobody roots
Islanders,
for unless you're
Jets,
in
Mets.
Long Island.
Yeah.
and yeah, they're still the best team by far.
Hey, it works. Is that? Oh God, I'm bad with coaches. Is that Barry
Barry
Trotz?
Trotz. Yeah.
It's
That's
that
the only
lame
reason why the
Trotz.
Islanders are good, by the way.
It's that
Barry
lame
Trotz.
Trotz team. Yeah, it's so lame. Their play style is so lame, but it works.
Yeah.
It's lame, but it works. It reminds me of fighting games, like where if you know anything about fighting games, like take like a Justin Wong, even he knows his play style is super lame, but it gets results.
Yeah.
All that matters at the end of the day is the W.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that
No, but
against the Chiefs too in football, right? The Chiefs is kind of that boring fucking.
The Chiefs, boring.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a traditional
Patrick
Andy Reid.
Mahomes is the opposite of what I would call boring.
Well, I mean, he's good, but the way that like Andy Reid kind of puts his plays his game is like very sort of like old school slam and jam football. You know, I mean, it's not a very
They're not really a running team. They're a quick passing.
yeah. They're a pass
kind
for
of
3
team.
yards, get in. Pass for 6 yards, get in. And
If
then
you
that's,
if you want boring old school, then you go Smash Mouth. That's where you get the Titans. My team actually,
yeah.
So
who
doesn't
will run the ball, just run the ball.
the Chiefs have like two of the best deep threats in the entire league?
Yeah.
I believe, yeah. I mean, and then you got Patrick Mahomes, who is just electrifying. Like I listen. I'm a Titans fan, so it's hard for me to cheer for other AFC teams. But like Patrick Mahomes is a player that I love watching.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame they don't have a great offensive line to actually protect him.
Well, that's the
when you
story
get those
of like
crazy plays because he's running for his dear life and then makes an insane throw 30 yards down the field across his body from the left hash to the all the way to the right side of the field for a touchdown.
yeah. Well, take
He's got
Mahomes out of the
backyard skills.
situation, then you don't have a very
Oh
fucking
yeah, if
fun
you
team.
throw Alex Smith back in there, oh god,
You don't have a
see
very
how that
fun
offense
team.
worked. That did not look great. There's a reason why they drafted Mahomes while they still had Alex Smith, and we're like, yeah, we're moving on from this guy.
But I do want to point, man, DMX, the Rough Rider, man, he went out. Poor guy, 50 years old, DMX, beloved rapper. I grew up on DMX. Believe it or not, my dad is a big rap fan, and DMX was like one of his favorites. Listened to him for years and years and years. Very sad.
When did MF Doom pass?
Only like a month ago.
It was 2020. I think it was
2020?
October, but I don't think they announced it until like this year.
Oh, they didn't announce it until like December or something, I think. Yeah, but you're right. It was
Yeah.
like October he died,
But
which
the
is
last few
crazy
months-
that he died
last few
and they
months
kept it a
we've lost-
secret.
Yeah, the last few months we've lost MF Doom and now DMX.
Yeah,
Two
Fucking sucks.
heavy hitters in hip hop and rap gone.
yeah.
Not old. They were young, like 50.
Yeah.
DMX was 50. How old was MF Doom? Like, I think he was also maybe in his 50s.
I don't even think he's that old. I think he was still 40.
Was he still in his 40s?
I don't even know.
He was born 1971. So that put him at 49.
Yeah, he's almost 50. Yeah.
Almost 50.
Yeah, DMX drug overdose. Listen, if you ever listen to his music, very prominent theme that he kind of battles with, something that has been open. And then recently he did an interview with Talib Kweli on his podcast where he talked about how he got introduced into crack, and it was by his mentor. His mentor laced a blunt of crack when he was like 14 or something, and that's kind of how he got hooked on it, and kind of struggled with it ever since. And he was clean for a while and then not clean. I mean, it was a battle. Unfortunately, he overdosed. So I'm assuming maybe he was clean and then relapsed. That's usually how these overdoses go. And his body just kind of gave out, and we lost a legend. Blood of my blood, flesh of my flesh, or flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. Easily one of the greatest rap albums ever. So R.I.P. DMX and Doom. It still sucks that we lost Doom too. I sometimes forget that. I have a couple articles here that I read over the weekend that I want you guys to check out. Go ahead, Doobie.
I feel like DMX needs a 21 ARF salute.
Yeah.
Just 21 straight. Just where my dog's at. Arf, arf.
I mean, he was into like the bike life thing, like the Rough Riders bike movement was like, look at Philadelphia now, and they're all like, like the kids that are trying to, I don't know, they're all like ripping wheelies on their dirt bikes down Broad Street and shit like that. It was like, that was all started by Rough Riders, like that.
Do you remember when they were gonna have like the boxing event that was gonna be DMX versus George Floyd?
Oh yeah.
Not George Floyd, George Zimmerman.
George Zimmerman.
I'm thinking of George Floyd right now because of the whole shit that's happening.
Floyd.
The whole shit that's happening in fucking Minnesota right now with the trial is. I've been reading up on that a lot. No, George Zimmerman.
It's George Zimmerman, and George Zimmerman pussied out because DMX was just there like, I'm not fighting clean. I'm gonna kill this dude.
Yeah, no, he said I'm gonna break every rule in the book. I was like,
hold on, there's also a
champ.
There's a really great DMX interview where they talk about Barack Obama, and I don't know if I can like repeat any of this stuff he says here, but he basically doesn't know who Obama is, and they're talking about Obama, and he's just baffled that there's a president named Barack, and it's fucking hilarious. So this guy goes, what do you think about the president Barack Obama? He goes, Barack Obama, yes. He goes, Barack? What the fuck is a Barack? Barack Obama, where's he from? Africa? Like, yeah, it's from Kenya. And it's just, you have to go check it out. It's very funny. DMX has a lot of little gems like that. All right, and then there's this article from Wired by Lauren Good, if you follow like the tech stuff. She's a prominent tech writer. And she writes, I called off my wedding, but the internet will never forget. And it's this long article about how she was getting married to this guy, and then she ended up canceling it. They called the wedding off. And now basically all of the algorithms and all of her social media and all of her fucking like tech apps just will not let her forget about this wedding. She's constantly getting pictures. Her fucking algorithms are all set to like wedding shit, so she's constantly getting notifications for like, oh, check out this florist, check out this wedding dresses, and it just goes into this like digital fucking hellscape that she has to live in. And I didn't think of that. It never occurred to me that could be such a problem, right? So like she talked to the guy from Pinterest, and he called it the miscarriage problem. So imagine like you're having a child, and you go through a miscarriage, and like all of your algorithms are tuned to baby stuff and having a family and starting a family, and now you're constantly kind of reminded of that sort of trauma unwittingly. It's just the way that the algorithms are kind of tuned, and you would have to like basically kind of like just start fresh. You would have to start up completely new accounts in order to kind of get rid of all that. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't actually think of how much of a problem that would be for people that experience these issues like that. So like in her case, it's a pretty daunting thing to be confronted with, this big moment of your life that you had to kind of cancel. And it could only get worse with the heavier sets of trauma. So something to go check out. It's a very interesting article, and it kind of opens your eyes to, this ecosystem that we all build for ourselves when we're surfing around the web, and we don't really realize it until, one day you're just like, I don't want to see anything about weddings. And now all of a sudden, every ad that you go by, every fucking Instagram photo that you scroll by is like all tuned to like showing you wedding stuff. It's pretty fucked. So go check that out. And there's another good article here of this woman who talks to the guy who keeps uploading pictures of her feet to WikiFeet. And it's pretty funny that she's able to sit down with this guy and chat. I mean, this guy's like fucked in the head. He's clearly fucked in the head. But what's interesting is how she's kind of okay. I don't know if okay is the right word. She kind of just, there's nothing she could really do about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's really nothing she can do about it. And she's not like a super famous person. It's just someone got a hold of pictures of her feet and like ended up just keep uploading pictures of her feet to WikiFeet, which I thought was I think if you have like a public IMDb, then they open up a WikiFeed account for you or something like that. And then he goes into like he knows everything about her. It's kind of creepy, but something to check out if you're interested in like, I don't know. I find like these digital hellscapes to be pretty fascinating. It seems like we are starting to get closer to like some sort of like Blade Runner cyberpunk dystopia than I otherwise thought. I didn't know it was kind of here. And it looks like women have to deal with it a lot more than men do. At least with men, we don't have to deal with fucking people posting pictures of our feet.
I mean, sure, but it's to a less extent because, hey, dude, we've had 4chan on the internet for how many years now?
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Oh, speaking of which, did you guys see the Q documentary? The Q Into the Storm?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the documentary by Cullen Holbach, I think his name is, Hoback. And he goes and he's been chronicling the story of Q, the fucking, I don't know what you would call it, the revolutionary movement that was Q. He's been following it for many years, and he released his documentary a couple of weeks ago. And he goes through how Q basically kind of evolved and who's behind Q. It's the guys behind 8chan. And man, if you want to watch a fucking awesome documentary series, you have to watch it. It's so fascinating. It's very like Enter the Gift Shop, if you've ever seen that by Banksy, where it's like the idea was like, all right, let's focus on what Q is, but then you end up focusing on the characters behind it, and it's just this wild ride. And if you would imagine like, all right, Q posts on 8chan, who's behind 8chan? It's exactly who you would imagine is behind, the scenes pulling the strings on this. So it's just funny to see like these people who are like 8chan weebs kind of dudes are, like puppet mastering the fucking American populace. Very, very fascinating documentary. Probably one of my favorites that I've seen in a while. It's so good. Go check that out too. Lots of good content. Okay, now here we have something I think Doobie is interested in. So this guy, he wanted to store all of his Nintendo collectibles, right? He's got all these cool Nintendo things. And he was like, what's the best way I could store this stuff? And he ends up building out the Nintendo offices from way, way back in the day. I don't know exactly what year. Let me see if I could find it. The 1933 office of Nintendo. Is that right? To establish the dimension, I use reference size instead of Nintendo's adjacent 1933 office. And then you can see here, this guy is taking his collecting to a whole new level. So I'm wondering, Doobie, are you interested in something like this? Where you could store all of your hard copy games into... And then here's the final.
Did he make like an entire room?
No, he made a house. He made like he rebuilt their offices. Like the first office that the Nintendo kind of made. And it's awesome. It is pretty cool. It's like a little dojo. Nintendo dojo.
Does he live in it?
No, it's just for his collections. I think it's on like part of his property or something. It's not that big. But it's
a bookshelf works just fine.
Yeah, but I think if you took it to the next step and you housed them, you know what I mean? Because then I would understand. It's like,
Man.
all right, now you have like you've literally built a shrine to the collecting whatever it is that you're collecting, and I kind of like that idea.
I guess it's cool. I mean,
And then you
I
can
don't
get it
have
all
that
out
kind
of
of
your
time
house.
and money and energy, so
I could see you building something like this. What if we did this summer? Me and you, we got on our hands, we got some elbow grease into it. We built a little Nintendo shrine in your backyard.
you don't want to see my backyard.
We could build
It's
it.
awful.
We could build it in my backyard. I don't even think I have a yard. So there you go. All right.
I mean, it's cool.
Not something you're interested in?
Not something I would do. No.
You know what? You're not a real collector
It
then.
costs a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean,
It is a cool idea,
I'm a
though.
collector. I'm just not. A bookshelf works just fine. And
Do you
it's a
feel
lot
like
cheaper.
you would? Let me ask you. Do you feel like you would like to better display your collections, or do you feel like you just put them over there? You know what I mean? Are you like one of those collectors? It's like put it on that thing.
It
I
depends
feel
on
like-
what it is. Like, I definitely would like to display stuff, but I'm also like at the moment not really with the space to do so.
Right.
But I do enjoy like that's like one of my favorite things about like because I always buy collector's editions. Like having art books, I think they're really neat. I really like looking at them. I also think they look really nice if you have a place to put them somewhere. But I like a nice bookshelf or even like a I don't want to say coffee table because you don't want to leave them out like that. But I'm not talking like I don't like I know the people who have like the rooms dedicated, right? They have the whole dedicated room to whatever it is they're a fan of, whether it be like Cabbage Patch dolls or
My best friend that
Nintendo
lives right
or-
around the corner, he's a big Penguins fan, and he has a room dedicated to Penguins memorabilia.
you know what room needs to be burned? Any room
But
that is dedicated to Funko Pops. Burn it down. Just burn your house down. Just destroy it
Yeah.
all.
Well, okay, my thought though is I think most people just do it for themselves and aren't trying to like actually put on a display or museum of random collectible shit.
I mean, I think
Listen,
that,
man.
but I do think that there's like an inherent thing that you kind of want to show off your collection. Like, I think
I
that's
mean,
one of the big reasons why
yeah.
people collect.
I do think you want to show it off, but what I mean is like to actually go and open your own museum is a step most people don't care to do.
Yeah, I mean,
You
that's a
gotta
little wild.
attract you gotta you bring your girl, your guy over for the first time to see your house and they're just like, damn dude, he's got a room dedicated to Funko Pops. Oh, he's
I
getting
mean,
some tonight.
A room dedicated to anything is scary, in my opinion. If you have a
Well, I
room
mean, like I
dedicated
got a
to
lot of Red Wing stuff.
Where's your
here,
room dedicated
obviously,
to
but
food
like,
pics?
but is
I'm
it
not trying to
dedicated to
like-
Red Wing stuff? No. You know?
No, it's not. But there's like a ton in it where it's just like no, it's just because this is where I like to watch the Red Wings.
I
Yeah.
feel like
We're
a man
gonna
like
bring someone in and just be like, yes.
That's what I mean.
look
That's
at
what my friend's penguin.
1998 Winter Coke bottles.
That's my friend's
you
penguin's
know the
room. It's
quote
like he
unquote
watches his
like
games.
man cave or what I guess the female equivalent these days is what the she shed.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
That's what I would like decorate and put
Yeah.
my memorabilia in because it's also the utility of I'm going to use this room whether I'm playing games or I'm hanging out in here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more
I
of
feel
like
like
I want a cool
I'm-
room than I want to show off like
Yeah.
a antique
That's why-
stamp collection.
Yeah, I'm more into.
That's why my
yeah,
favorite
that-
collector's editions of games usually include something that has an actual utility. I think the Persona 5 Special Edition came with like a school bag, the Shujin Academy school bag. I used that thing when I was going to the gym. I used it as a gym bag. It's a utility thing. I like having both collecting and having things that are usable.
Yeah.
I'm
Me
not
too.
the kind of person that like
That's why I
would
collect
buy
mugs.
something and then keep it unopened. That to me is just like no. I want to collect it, but unopening it just seems lame. I get it; it increases the value, but
Oh,
I'm
you
also not
open
buying
everything?
two.
You don't.
I'm
You
not
don't.
buying-
You don't seal everything. You don't have everything sealed. You open everything.
There's a few things I have unopened, mainly like figurines. I have a like a Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, Wolfman, collectible that's numbered. I think because it's numbered, also like is the reason why I didn't open it. But like games or something, I'm gonna open. I know people that buy 2 copies of collector's editions, one to never open, and then one they open and play with.
Yeah.
There's definitely a collector's mentality to it.
I half get that, and I half also don't, just because it's like, sure, yeah, sure, you keep the price, and maybe someday. The issue is, I think too many people do that, then there's ever going to be a market to buy said item, so it's actually not retaining a value. It's just cluttering up your house.
I open
But
up all the amiibos I buy. You've seen them. I open them up. I know plenty of people who have bought theirs and don't open them.
But like, if you're gonna buy a collector's edition, the thing I never get is like, dude, like what's the point then if you're not gonna open it? Like I think of WoW collection boxes, and it's like, okay, that's cool because it has a giant art book. But if you're never gonna look at the art book, why the fuck are you buying an art book?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I think most. Well, my one friend dad was into the 49ers, and like most of his stuff was like never opened. He just wanted to just keep it. It's a very odd sort of thing that humans do. Is the collection aspect. I collect mugs. That's about it. That's my only collection. I collect mugs from when I travel. I like
You
to
just gotta
get them.
yeah, and then I drink coffee out of them.
Yeah.
You're just gonna make sure your collecting doesn't encroach into hoarding.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like a gene that's like a hoard gene. I'm sure there is, right? There's got to be something there because some people just aren't like that. Like I don't think I'm like that, but I don't know. Is that something that's learned? It's got to be like inherent, I think, right?
My dad's a hoarder.
I'll keep stuff for too long, but it's also, I only find the use of that if it's like usable shit.
Well, do you guys throw everything out? Like I throw everything out. It's like a thing that Kate hates about me is like I'm not sentimental with anything. Like for example, like our baby's umbilical cord. Like a lot of people keep that, and as soon as that shit fell out, I fucking flicked right in the garbage. I don't want to keep that shit. But
that's garbage.
but it's weird. It's like a lot of people hold on to that shit. But like for most things, I just kind of throw them out, and I don't know. Do you guys, for the most part, like second guess it? Do you hold on to it? Like things that you would find used to be useful or hold some sort of sentimental value, they're no longer useful. Do you find a reason that you're like, yeah, I'll keep this around. Maybe I just want to keep it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll do that probably with like tech stuff. Like I still have old computer parts
That just have no use, right? They just kind of
they don't, but it's just also there as like backup because knowing me, I'll fry something and then need a backup.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Korean Overwatch player shares his experience with anti-Asian racism in America. So let me play this. I don't know who this guy is. He is Swing Chip, I guess. I don't know. No, I think that's the person who translated it. This is Fearless. Yusuk Fearless Lee. Okay, so this is what he says. COVID, it's severe. It's pretty scary. People here don't even wear masks around here, so it worries me. But actually, since we wear masks when we're outside, no, but actually, scrap all that. Being Asian here is terrifying. Seriously, people keep trying to pick fights with us. Every time they see me, it's like Americans will come up to us, and there's even people who cough on us. They'll deliberately cough on us. They'll cuss us the fuck out while laughing. It's really serious. I think Koreans living overseas should be careful. The racism here is no joke. They'll walk up to us. We don't do anything. They're walking by with their masks on. They'll walk up, take their masks off, pretend to fucking cough on us, and they're mocking us. How do I say this? Saying things like fucking Chinese at us and just cuss at us. They call us Chinese, then harass us. The racism here is unspeakable. All right. There's a little bit more here that we don't have to get into, but I found this pretty interesting. Now, I'm an Asian American. I've been an Asian American all my life. And I'm half Asian, and it's kind of hard for some people to tell that I'm Asian. For some people, it's easier for them to tell. And I've dealt with like Asian American racism my entire life. But it's never been like I've always found it, and with my Asian family, some of them who are fully like just fully Asian, fully Laos, fully Thai. The racism is very similar to racism against. I mean, I guess it like Asian racism is very specific. There's like a really specific way that people are racist to Asians that I think is starting to become addressed now. This whole like stop Asian hate thing, I don't think it's a very productive movement in my opinion. I think it only eggs people on to initiate and engage in that type of stuff. Anytime you tell someone to stop doing something, it just makes people want to do it. I don't think that that's a very productive thing, but it does bring awareness to like Asian racism and harassment. That said, having people kind of like cough on you and like having people kind of like think that the entire pandemic is your fault, even if you're Korean, you're not even Chinese. It's like, it's a pretty crazy thing. I don't know if he's being hyperbolic. To me, it's kind of hard to believe that people are literally walking up to him and coughing on him and telling him that he's fucking Chinese or whatever. It's kind of hard for me to believe that just because I know how... that's not really the racism that a lot of Asians experience. Maybe it is now. I don't know. Maybe it is now. But for the most part, I find that...
Dude, if he goes to Walmart, I can 100% see that shit happen.
Yeah. Walmart, any place like that. I mean, yeah, maybe. Who knows? Americans are out of fucking control these days, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And it's definitely a possibility.
And in fairness, it's not the majority.
No.
It's a small minority.
Yeah. It's a small minority of people who, for some reason, take it upon themselves to just push some sort of weird agenda that they kind of are indoctrinated to. But, yeah, I kind of wanted to showcase this because, like, I don't know. I wanted to talk about like the hashtags. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's like this rise in like violence against Asian people, and there's a lot of people that are kind of like, we need to stop Asian hate. I don't think that's very useful. I feel like those type of campaigns, they trivialize things, and like I just hate hashtag campaigns. I hate them. I don't think that they work. I think that all it does is spurn the opposite reactionary response. It seems like this has been the way since Trump has been elected, right? Every time some sort of like new thing comes along, there's a strong response to the opposite side of that. Just for fun. Like, some people are bored. Like, people want to just engage in hateful things, and that's always going to be the case, unfortunately. And I think when you try to really kind of push back against that, it only makes the reaction worse. I think there are better ways of addressing racism in America. I don't agree with like public displays of like virtue signaling. I just don't think they help. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe someone can change my mind on this, but sometimes I have to remind some of my friends, like, I am a person of color. Like, I've dealt with racism. I know I look white a lot of the time, but I do deal with this stuff a lot. And
I think the reason why people get into it is just because they can identify that it's bad and they don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true.
Like,
it's easy for them to say, hey, look, everyone, become aware of this, and rather than
right.
like...
It's because it is like one of those things you want to see change, but you don't know how to do it, so you have to vocalize that, like, no, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. So to me, like, I think like the most powerful thing, and this goes for like a lot of like the black activism that's going on today too. The most powerful thing is money, right? A lot of these organizations that want to help these groups, they need money. A lot of people in these positions, the reason why they're minorities or the reason why they're oppressed is because they just don't have a lot of money. A lot of immigrants don't have a lot of money. A lot of low income areas filled with minorities don't have a lot of money. The best thing you can do to support these people is like shop at these minority small businesses. That's honestly the best thing you can do. It's you post a hashtag, do what you want there. I just don't think that's very helpful, and I think it spurns the opposite reaction more often than not.
It's easy to say.
Don't go shoot them up and then have the cops say you're having a bad day.
Yeah, don't do that either.
I was gonna say, it's easy to say you're an ally. It's easy to just make a tweet. It's easy to to say something, but then you gotta put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
You gotta. I don't care if it's. I mean, shopping at minority businesses, donating to certain organizations
Yeah.
that work with minority organizations.
Yeah.
Like, do something more than just saying, "Oh, I'm an ally." No, actually, like, do something.
Yeah.
I don't, and
Yeah.
even if it's just giving $5, $10, just whatever you can afford. Do actually put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, and like you don't even have to donate. Like you can get
No,
something
yeah.
out of it. You know what I mean? Go to your local Chinese restaurant. 9 times out of 10, they're owned by Chinese people, Chinese families. They've been passed down. The local nail salon, like a lot of Vietnamese and Philippine women, they actually own them. You know, go spend money there. You're gonna get something out of it. You're gonna get great service. Go get a massage. You know, a lot of Asian women do massage.
You're fucking yourself over if you don't, dude.
Yeah,
Banh mi is still the greatest sandwich in the world.
true,
And
definitely.
if you have
true.
not had like a real one, dude, you're fucking up.
I'd argue
Like,
pho is the greatest soup in the world. You know, you go get some.
I'm gonna
fucking
stick
pho.
with my ramen.
Okay, you can go to ramen too. Well, a lot of I will say a lot of white people have co-opted the ramen, so you might have to look a little harder to see if it's an Asian-owned ramen place.
The one by me, I'm pretty certain is. And
Nothing
if
wrong
it's
with that. I mean, there's
If
nothing.
it's not, then they do a very good job of staffing only Asian people. So
I mean, there's nothing. I think it's kind of cool that like someone that kind of
it's the place like there's a really small shop that's like in a little like shopping center.
Yeah. I like some people, the racism stuff in today's age is very interesting because I find the reactions interesting. Like a lot of people are very against like cultural appropriation in America, but I think that shit is awesome, man. Like there's nothing breaks down barriers more than when like white people get into stuff. Unfortunately, it's just how it is. They're the majority of Americans. So when they co-op stuff like that,
there's a fine line to that where
I mean, yes, there's a line that you can cross where you're like Rachel
there's a
Dolezal.
line between like appreciation and then like full on trying to claim ownership.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, look at rock music.
Yeah.
Like rock music has definitely been like co-opted and pretty much owned by white people, but its origins go to
To the blues, yeah.
the blues, which
Yeah.
is a purely African American music form.
But now look, the most popular
yeah.
form of music is rap music. I mean, it's that they've built that industry themselves. I mean, it's a fucking powerhouse. Now a lot of it is marketing it to white kids in suburbs, but nonetheless, hey, it's an industry that they built that they're making fucking tons of money on, and it's a fun industry. Imagine being a rapper. That would be fucking sick. But I don't know. I find like the race stuff. I don't like to get too deep into it, but I do find it it is important to discuss it because it does seem like racism in America is at like an all-time high. Whether it's
and it's
on both ends. In my opinion, it's on both ends. More
but
so
it's also-
on one end, but for sure it's on both.
it's still regionalized too, which is the hard part. Like
Yeah, true.
it's a national thing, but then like I'm actually reading through this article and it's like, oh yeah, the team in Boston saying everything's fine, and then the team in Florida and Texas is having issues. Like,
Yeah, I would have. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely shit that needs to be worked out.
I don't think it's that hard. I mean, if you're this is assuming you're a good person, right? Because there are just people in the world who are just simply not good people. Just
Right.
filled with hate, they're filled with vitriol.
Right.
I don't know, just be there for the people, like be there for the people you know who go through this. Be kind, just treat other people as you want to be treated, and speak up when you see something wrong.
True. And I mean, I guess my final point on it would be like, don't virtue signal because it only makes it worse. It only makes the reactionary response to it even greater. Don't be like this, like virtue signaling. Like be honest about your how you feel about it. Don't try to get points from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I do wonder, how do you go about education without it being crossing that line into virtue signaling?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good point.
Because that is one of those things where that is a hard line to balance. Obviously, I don't have the answer. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I don't stick my head into a lot of this, but it's one of those things where it's like you do have to talk about it like we are, and you do have to hopefully one day, maybe dude A is a shitlord, but you can maybe teach dude's kid to not be one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're putting in the effort to either teach or learn, then
That's enough.
there's at least an effort versus like a simple hashtag stop the hate or hashtag trans lives matters. If that's all you're doing is just putting up a hashtag, not really actively making any effort
Dude,
to learn or to teach or to improve,
Yeah.
then that to me is virtue signaling. Right?
Exactly.
You're just saying,
And
you're
I
just
rather
saying
you
what's
not. I rather
popular.
you be honest and be like, look, I have too much going on that I don't care. Like this doesn't affect me. I don't care about it. I rather that than you being like, now this is something I have to fucking post on my Facebook because this is gonna get me. You know what I mean? Like just be like, look, it's not something I've looked into. I know nothing about it. I'm too busy with my life. Like I get a lot of people don't have
And like
time to worry about black issues,
the
Native
worst-
American
the
issues,
worst
Asian
is-
issues.
The worst is like how every mom and dad business, and I don't even mean mom and pop shops. I mean like actual corporations are like, yep, we got to join this. We gotta join this."
Everything. Yeah. Like every issue. Like there's
the classic silence brand.
You're like, there's something
Yeah,
that I
well, no,
find
dude,
interesting is the
fucking
Latinx.
Bell- This has been an issue in hockey in
And then-
Canada. Is Bell Let's talking about mental health issues, getting like $700 million from the government, and then immediately firing half their employees.
Oh God. Well, that's. I mean, like, the corporate
But yeah,
world is
dude, worry
fucking
about
ruthless.
mental health awareness. Come on, dude. We're not ruining all of our own
think-
employees' mental
I
health.
can't,
Don't worry
I can't
about
remember
it.
who I can't remember who it was. Somebody I follow on Twitter said something about like when a company makes a donation, and then like wants you to shop there, they've already made the donation. Now that you're shopping there, they're just getting their money back.
True.
If you want them to really make a donation, don't buy from there.
And I will say too, like, I mean, being Asian American is it's not the easiest thing, but there's a reason why a lot of our families, went through hell. Like the story of my grandparents coming to America to escape a communist regime. It just, America is a great place with great opportunities, and we have our issues, but
I mean, I'm trying to remember. I almost want to look it up. There was
to say
a
it's
really
terrifying is,
interesting-
I think, a little bit hyperbole.
There's a really interesting like dynamic between the Jewish culture and other races in America, and positive and negative, right? Positive and negative interactions. I think one of the most interesting one is how like the stereotype of like Jewish people, and mind you, my dad's side of the family is Jewish, so I've been through this. How on Christmas we get Chinese food and see a movie. It's like the whole stereotype. Like Jews get Chinese. There's an actual like it actually goes pretty far back as to why Jewish people got Chinese food.
What's
on
the story? I don't
Christmas.
know the story.
I'd see if I can find it. I remember reading it. I think it was from like maybe the 50s or 60s it started.
So it's not really a stereotype. I mean, I guess it would be a stereotype if you didn't. I mean, I'm sure not every
in fairness,
Jewish person does that, but
My side of the family would also do that half of the time.
yeah.
This is like it's NPR that has an article.
I'm curious. What is the origin of getting? I didn't even know that was a thing until you just said it. Chinese food and watch a movie.
So
mean,
apparently,
we
at
always-
least according, this is from an author who wrote a book called "A Kosher Christmas: 'Tis the Season to Be Jewish." Joshua Plott says at least since 1935, according to the New York Times, which cites that a man by the name of Eng Shi-chuk brought chow mein on Christmas Day to the Jewish children's home in Newark. This is the first written citation of Jews eating Chinese food on Christmas.
The first citation. Someone wrote it down. Today, the Jews ate Chinese food on Christmas.
Oh my god, this guy says like, actually, Jews eating in Chinese restaurants goes back to 1899.
What
The
the
American Jewish Journal, a weekly publication, criticized Jews for eating at non-kosher restaurants and singling out in particular Jews who flock to Chinese restaurants. So this marriage between Jews and Chinese food really goes back to when Jews and Chinese people were immigrants in the United States.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
a really
and-
fascinating like look at it. And it's I mean, I grew up plenty of years. It's Christmas. What are we doing?
Get some fucking General Shao.
Let's
Yeah.
get some. Yeah, really. Let's go to
Yeah.
our favorite Chinese place. Which I mean, we've been going to the same Chinese place for, God, 22 years,
Yeah.
and see a movie.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
we went through the see a movie part, but like, yeah, dude, like after my grandparents got old enough, it's like they're not gonna cook. We're not gonna cook because we have to go visit them. Like,
Get some lo
oh
mein.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, Chinese food fucking rocks too. All right. There's our discussion on that. E3 was returning this year.
Making me want to get some tonight. Might do that.
Dude, fucking crab rangoons. I love those things.
Yeah. Well, dude, the other thing that I've been meaning to do again is I'm not too far from Duluth, which like, oh, dude, it's just Korean food everywhere.
Mm,
There's like 130 Korean like local Korean restaurants.
nice.
So mind you, Americanized Chinese food, it's very fascinating to me because like there was one in the college town I went to that had like chicken wings.
Yeah.
And then my favorite thing is I love bourbon chicken. I was like, oh, I'm gonna see, I'm gonna Google bourbon chicken. It was made in Louisiana.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what? I didn't know this.
Yeah. No,
It's-
American
It's
Chinese
bourbon
food
chicken because
is-
it's cooked with bourbon, but it originated from Bourbon Street.
If you want like real Chinese food, like most people are gonna be like, I don't want any of this. This is some crazy fucking food. A lot of it's like bean and fucking like fish heads, and they eat some weird stuff over there.
Dude, just
Yeah,
get a full
Americanized
duck for
Chinese
your
food is-
family. It's actually amazing.
Like a Peking duck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never had Peking duck, but I want to try it.
Oh man, come to
Also-
Philly. They do a really good Peking duck at that one Chinese food place in the market area. It's so fucking good.
They mentioned Peking duck like 8 times in Yakuza Like a Dragon, and each time they said it, I'm just like, man, that sounds so good.
It is. It's so good.
It is.
Also, who wants a Mr. Softy?
I mean, I always do. E3 returns for 2021 online show June 12th to the 15th. E3 is coming back.
Who's
And,
hosting?
Probably what's his name? The guy Jeff Keighley. Jeff
Well, that's
Keighley?
the summer. That's the summer games fest. I thought.
Who knows, man? I actually don't know who's hosting.
I mean, nobody really hosts E3. It's kind of just where a lot of
Yeah, but I think
companies
you'd-
come together, and it's all virtual this year.
What do you mean?
so-
Like what
Right, but I
company is
think you'd
hosting?
have to have a host then if it's virtual. Like if you're doing a Twitch stream, you gotta have a host.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is most of the Twitch streams for E3 have been like, here's Nintendo's direct, but they're going to be on Nintendo's channel. Ubisoft is on Ubisoft's channel. EA is
Honestly,
on
it's probably
EA's
going to be one of
channel.
the gaming journalists that.
It's kind of just like, hey, this is a time that we all get together to make announcements. That's kind of it at this point.
And Sony's not participating again, right?
Yeah, they're not. That makes sense. They like to do their own thing, especially now that they've copied the whole.
So why
They've
E3
adapted the Nintendo Direct style of
early
state of play.
commitments from Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Bros. Games, and
Take-Two?
Koch Media.
Konami
Wait, does
is the
Take-Two-
one. No, Konami is the one on there that I'm most interested.
Well,
They
Take-Two
do
is
nothing but pachinko games.
yeah, that's odd. And Take-Two, are they gonna reveal another fucking Grand Theft Auto? What other game would they be revealing? Maybe
There's
a
been
patch.
a lot of weird rumors for a GTA 6.
Maybe we're gonna
that I
see
don't believe.
GTA 6. That would be a huge announcement for E3.
I mean, knowing Nintendo, we're gonna get a new Smash character announcement. They'll probably talk about Breath of the Wild 2.
I wouldn't
they'll probably
expect that.
announce,
I
they'll
would
probably
not
announce
expect
some games. I wouldn't be surprised if Shin Megami Tensei 5 gets a release date.
Why do you
Well,
think
They
they're gonna
definitely
talk
need
about
some
Breath
new
of the Wild?
games, though.
Give a good reason why we still don't have Metroid.
Bayonetta 3 is a possibility, but I don't know. Bayonetta 3 and Metroid 4 kind of just don't exist to me at this point.
Dude, Take-Two, it's gonna be like Borderlands 4 and NBA 2K22.
So Konami recently started selling Suikoden merch on their website, and they were like promoting it. And they're gonna be at E3. So if you don't know, Suikoden's an older RPG franchise that kind of with other Konami properties, it's kind of just died, right? They don't do anything with it.
I mean, Konami's just died basically.
Yeah, they make pachinko and that's it. They made Pachinko, they got rid of Kojima, and they made Metal Gear Survive, and it was awful.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as me going, like I would love to see some kind of Suikoden news, whether it be a new game or hell, I'll even take a package of all 5 games. Think about it this way: so the PS3 store is closed now, right? They closed the PS3 e-store, digital storefront. So you can't buy any games on there anymore, which means that Suikoden 2, if you didn't own it that way, or a physical version on the PlayStation 1, if you want to buy it physically, you are looking at like $200. It's a collector's item at this point.
Cool.
But having an official like re-release of it in a collector's edition, like in a combo pack of just classic games, Konami, just give me what I want.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they reveal. I wouldn't be. I'm not too. I don't think we're gonna see like that many big announcements.
Castlevania Pachinko
I think we're gonna see some
on
like.
the Nintendo Switch.
It's just weird to me that they're still doing it without Sony. It just doesn't feel right without Sony. It's just like this is the gaming showcase, and you don't have one of the biggest gaming.
I mean, that's not their decision. That's Sony. It's just,
Well, that's what I'm saying. They should be like, all right, well then that's it. Thank you, Sony. You ruined E3, and it's time
I
to
bet
wrap
you
it up.
Sony will probably do a presentation around this time.
But
State
that
of
would
play,
be
probably won't
fine.
be very long.
Like if they said, "Listen, we're doing E3, Sony, you can do your own thing, but at least do it like on E3 or near E3." Like that would be nice.
They do theirs. Don't they do theirs in like December? Is that when they have their like PlayStation
State of
Live
play or whatever?
experience? Well, they have the experience, which is like their super big hour-long in-person press conference, presentation. And then in between that, they do the Nintendo style state of plays. And then Nintendo was just like straight up, yeah, we just do directs. And then during E3, they have the treehouse. Which, I mean, even though this is virtual, they'll probably do the treehouse. I think that's one of their most successful things when it comes to E3. Is they have their 45-minute presentation, and they show off all the games, and then they go into the deep dive on games and show you gameplay and talk about with the developers. That kind of stuff actually sells me on some games that I'm not really convinced on beforehand. I wish more companies did that. Like, give me your crazy announcements. I'm trying to think, what was the last presentation they had that just happened? And I think it was some kind of indie thing, and they followed up every trailer with like 20 minutes from the devs. And it was like, no. Just give me 30 minutes of trailers, and then you can do your 3 hours of different dev talks and different like things. You have to pace it.
Well, Path of Exile just released their new league announcements, and they showed off.
And it looks good.
Yeah, it looks fucking
Looks
awesome.
good.
And then they released some new footage on Path of Exile 2, which looks awesome. That got everyone so hype. And then they do a podcast. They did a podcast. One of the developers went onto a podcast that's around it, and then they did like an hour talk about all of the stuff and Q's and A's, and super hype on that. And like, I don't know, individual game announcements just seems like a really kind of good way to do it as well. I know GGG is a little bit different, but it could be cool to do something like that. All right, moving on. Kojima in talks with Microsoft to publish next Kojima Productions title. I love the fucking Ludens helmet too. I think the thing looks so cool. I kind of want a tattoo of this on my body.
This could be good.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so.
I mean, Kojima's got a large fan base that really likes his work.
This would
and
100% be exclusive.
Microsoft is trying to get them exclusives to compete with Sony. Now that Sony essentially is like, we don't do small little indie games. We're going to focus on big AAA, high budget
Remakes.
blockbusters,
And remake.
which includes remakes of 8-year-old games
Yeah.
because it'll print money. And that like for Microsoft now has Bethesda.
Dude, Kojima going to Xbox and it coming on Games Pass. You could play on PC. Let's fucking go, dude.
But that's the thing. With Outriders is Games Pass, but it's Games Pass on console only at the moment.
I'm leading towards getting an Xbox for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking if Xbox wants to compete and if Microsoft really wants to push the console, even if it's 1 year limited exclusivity.
By the way, you can also get an Xbox. You still can't get a PS5.
They need, yeah.
And
What
then
I
you can get the fact that they still roped in EA, so now you can actually get your sports games.
yeah. I mean, Games Pass is a phenomenal deal, but if they really want to push their console, they need to do year timed exclusives for Games Pass console, and then after a year, it hits Games Pass PC. I wouldn't mind that because I'll still get Games Pass, and yeah, I have to wait a year to play on PC, but that's fine. But that would really be an incentive for people to buy the console, which
Yeah,
is
I think a
right now
year
they
is a
don't really
lot.
have
I
that.
think a year is definitely a long time. I mean, maybe
At
like a
least
few
6
months.
months.
I mean, maybe 3 months. Even 6 months
I
is kind
don't.
of
I
long.
think 3 months is too short.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, just thinking from a business perspective. 3 months, not that long of a wait. 6 months, a decent wait. A year, that's definitely going to be something that
A year is
people
like,
that really want to play will buy the console for.
yeah. I mean,
I've,
a year old, especially how quick
I mean, you could
games
be
are.
like Sony, who takes 3 years to put anything on PC, like Horizon Zero Dawn took God knows how long.
I mean, yeah, there's
I think
like
it
two
also
games.
depends on what the type of game is. Because the argument for Outriders, I could make an argument for that coming out quicker just because that game needs
Because
a player
it is
base.
it's
Yeah.
going to be a game. It's an online only game, not online only, but it's an always online game.
Yeah, and you had to
That
wait a
is,
year for that when half of the
and it's a
fucking
looter
players leave.
shooter too. So I mean, look at Destiny. If you bought Destiny when it first came out, and then you played for a while, and then you wanted to play with like, let's say you waited a year and then got it, and then your friends are already like, yeah, no, we're kind of done with this game.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think. A year. I think even 6 months is a long time, but
I just
anyways,
think
I
three
mean, if
months
they
is
were
too
like,
short
look,
to incentivize
Kojima,
console sales.
Kojima exclusive, Xbox only exclusive. I'm like, all right, well, it looks like I have to get an Xbox, so that's just gonna happen.
And that's a big name to get if he can get that as an exclusive.
It's interesting
You
to
put
see,
that
like,
with
does
Bethesda.
I mean, how many games have Kojima released on Xbox?
Metal Gear Rising, I believe, was on Xbox, right?
Death Stranding was on Xbox.
Yeah.
Just imagine the next gen of
What
yeah, Metal Gear
games were
Solid
on?
games is just an Xbox exclusive now.
That'd be nuts, dude. That'd be nuts. Well, I would imagine he's also talking with Sony. I would imagine
The
he's
Metal
also
Gear
talking.
Solid HD collection
This is a
was on the
bidding war.
360.
This is definitely a bidding war. Who wants to pay?
Campaign was on Microsoft, was on Xbox.
Kojima said, okay, let's go talk to Microsoft and put some headlines out there so Sony gets jealous and then just raise the price on Sony.
Here we go. The Metal Gear Fandom.com, the wiki.
Was Death Stranding? What was the last one? Just do the last one. The last one that's not Death Stranding.
They had the Phantom Pain was on 360 and Xbox
Okay,
One.
so there you go. So they already kind of have a
Metal Gear
relationship.
Rising Revengeance, Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance, and Metal Gear Solid HD Collection.
Yeah, but it was Phantom Pain, the last big release.
Was the last big Kojima
yeah.
Metal Gear game, yeah. Because Survive is not Kojima.
Yeah, and then here's another great, awesome thing. I don't know if did we talk about the Last of Us remake?
Not yet, but we did mention part of it.
Bloomberg reports Sony support studio pushed off Last of Us remake, leading some to quit. Fans will be happy to hear Last of Us is getting a remake for PS5, says Polygon. But some developers inside Sony aren't happy with how that came together or what it means for PlayStation's vaunted virtual first-party development going forward, according to a report Friday from Bloomberg. The account by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier describes how Sony's Visual Arts Service Group, a support-oriented studio located in San Diego, took on a PS5 remake for 2014's Last of Us with approval, but without much support from above, then saw it handed over to the original developer Naughty Dog. The Visual Arts Service Group was then relegated to a support role, as well as assigned to help Naughty Dog complete the delayed Last of Us Part 2 that launched summer for PS4. As a result, the group's founder left Sony altogether, Bloomberg reports. Wow, that's kind of an interesting... That's actually pretty interesting.
This kind of goes back to...
So they
something
sent
that
it to a
happened
support...
earlier.
They sent it to a different design Sony Visual Arts Service Group, and then they said, okay, well, we're just going to give it back to Naughty Dog. And then the founder of that group left after that decision. Interesting.
This reminds me a little bit of so this happened back in February. Sony announced that they were closing Japan Studio, which was one of their in-house development teams. The team was responsible for games like Gravity Rush, Ape Escape, and The Last Guardian. those kinds of games are what they're not focusing on those kinds of games anymore. The more artsy or the more
Not selling
out
games.
there niche games.
Yeah.
They want big selling, like AAA blockbusters, and not really much of the smaller, kind of more experimental stuff, right? Like Ape Escape, the original Ape Escape was the only reason that game was made because it was specifically made for the original DualShock analog triggers, like analog sticks. That was a game that was like, this is the controller was made for this kind of like this
No, it
game
was
came about because of
Astro's
that
Playroom.
controller.
It was Astro's Playroom for PS2.
Yeah, I mean, but Ape Escape then had a bunch of, it was successful and it had a bunch of
PS2 or
sequels.
PS1?
Ape
PS1.
Escape is PS1.
Yeah, PS1 when the DualShock.
They made more of them, and they're really good games, but they were definitely experimental.
Good is a subjective term.
I mean, I liked them.
It was fun with when you first got to play with the DualShocks. I remember that being like, wow, I can go anywhere.
But that isn't what they're interested in now. They're interested in the next Uncharted, the next Last of Us, and if that means they're going to remake them, they're going to remake them. I mean, Jim Ryan is on record as saying like he doesn't understand the appeal of classic games or the appeal of older games. If it's not new, it's not worth it.
I think he means that in the sense of like sales. He's probably not seeing the sales that line up with the amount of development time.
I mean, that's the reason why he's
just like, why would I?
Well, his argument was when it was just back in 2017, they were discussing backwards compatibility, and he's like, I just don't understand the purpose of backwards compatibility. We know that people want it, but we keep, but he's like, we see that it's just an underutilized feature that isn't really something we focus on.
It says fixation on teams that churn out hits is creating unrest across Sony's portfolio of game studios. Oregon-based Sony Bend, best known for the 2019 open-world action game Days Gone, tried unsuccessfully to pitch a sequel that year, according to people familiar with the proposal. Although the first game had been profitable, its development had been lengthy and critical reception was mixed, so Days Gone 2 wasn't seen as a viable option. So you got to bring the hits to Sony, or they're not fucking putting any money down. That's just how it is over there now.
Which that can be okay. You can argue that. The fact that I absolutely hate is this entire comment train on this entire article is arguing about why a different game should have been remade.
I mean, I can name you a bunch of other games that deserve to be remade besides Last of Us.
Dude, but no, that's we've yes, we're there. We've reached it.
Maybe
We've
a game from the
reached
PlayStation 1 that doesn't look that
shitty
great.
Consumerism of instead of give us a new game, here is my essay on why you should remake this other shitty game.
Well, go to Xbox World. It looks like they want new hits. They want the new. They're not doing any remakes.
I mean, Xbox also has full-on backwards compatibility.
Well, I guess they don't have to remake if they
Xbox.
can just fucking go backwards, right?
You know, it's almost like when you build an architecture that works from the original Xbox all the way up to the new one, it makes backwards compatibility not that hard.
People quote here, people funding the work are often risk averse, and if they have to pick a team that's done it before and someone trying to do it on their own for the first time, I can see why some pick the prior developer over the latter. True. It's tough because these games are getting more and more expensive to make, and you're going to need more and more people invested in your game, and I mean, that's the toughest part about this business is getting the fucking money. It's fucking so expensive. But who knows? Just go make a Minecraft. Make a fucking $1 trillion by yourself.
It's really interesting right now because Sony's struggling in Japan right now. Console, and we've talked about this before. Console sales in Japan for Sony are not great. They've been on the decline for a while. The rise of mobile gaming. That's why the Switch does so well, I believe. In
Speaking
Japan,
of which,
that handheld is
League
really
of
good.
Legends just came out for mobile, and it rocks. It actually rocks. Wild Rift on mobile is so fun.
I've seen the trailers on multiple YouTube videos for it, and I skip every time.
I love it. I'm addicted.
So yeah, this was back in January. Ace Research Institute's Hideki Yasuda wrote that rampant censorship of Japanese titles had led the country's players to believe Sony and CEO Jim Ryan have shown disregard for the Japanese market.
Yeah.
This
And
is
moves
also
like
your
this-
reminder that Last of Us 2 came out 4 years after League of Legends.
What? Really?
The original Last of Us came out 4 years after League of Legends, but we're
Oh,
already
you
remaking
said
it.
Last of Us 2. That's what
I did.
confused me.
I meant the original. Sorry.
Wow. Wait, it came out 4 years after League of Legends?
Yes, League of
Wow.
Legends was 2009.
Oh my god. Sick. And they just released a mobile game, which is actually kind of crazy. You'd figure they would release that fucking 10 years ago. What were you saying, Doobie? What was the last point?
I was just saying, like part of this reminds me a lot, and it's not the same situation, right? But there was that time where Sony coming out of the PS2, right? One of the greatest selling I think the greatest selling console. Coming out of that was a ton of goodwill. They seemed like unfallible, and then multiple missteps. The price of the PS3, the whole no sharing games thing that Microsoft totally ridiculed. The joke that PS3 has no games. Remember that that gaming joke? I feel like, and then Microsoft of course capitalized on all that.
And now it's
right now
flipped
you've
again.
got Microsoft with Games Pass.
Now it's flipped again. Yeah.
Bethesda working maybe with Kojima on
Lots of
exclusive
indie
title.
titles. So many indie titles on Games
They're
Pass.
huge on indies like Nintendo, and I would say that probably Microsoft more than even Nintendo. Their whole ID department, the Microsoft independent developers. I don't think it's going to go the exact same way it did with that generation.
It's shaping up that way.
But the writing's the precedent's there. This is very Sony gets to the point where they kind of need to get humbled.
Yeah.
They kind of get their heads boosted by how well their last generation did.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo is guilty of the same thing. Nintendo, when they're struggling, right, when things are not looking good after the Wii U, they hit up the Switch, right? They hit you with tons of games, high quality content, and then when they're successful, they kind of just fall back, and they kind of just sit on their laurels for a while.
Yeah.
Each company has their own pitfalls, but this definitely does remind me somewhat of that PS3 era.
It's just gonna come down to the games that people want to play. We're gonna see. Like,
Sony's next conference or state of play or whatever, they need to pull out some big
well, we already know
games.
we're getting a new God of War. We already know we're getting a new Horizon. We already know like a GTA is coming to it. They're already gonna have like the fucking big hitters. It's just Microsoft is really starting to make waves because now they're starting to get some like exclusivity deals that are going to bring them up to that level. Plus, they already have Games Pass and they have the indie thing going on, so they can kind of steamroll it. It's just we're waiting to see if that materializes. Otherwise, I would still say Sony kind of has like most of the titles that people want to play.
Games Pass is just so consumer friendly.
Well, here they're saying Sony's working on a counterpunch to Games Pass.
Which they have to. They have to.
We'll see
if
how
they want to compete. They need to.
We'll see how it is implemented. If they're gonna do some sort of like PlayStation Now thing where they're just gonna give us some like wacky old games that no one want to play.
Now is way overpriced.
Yeah, it's gotta be good. It's gotta have new titles.
And it's gotta
I'd be more
affordable.
interested in WoW or PlayStation Now if it's not Last of Us Remastered.
Last of Us Remastered.
Oh, wait, what's next? Uncharted 1.
Yes,
Yay,
exactly.
dude.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
Cool.
exactly what now is.
Jerry, don't give them ideas.
Oh, dude, no, that was what I was talking about. Is that was what the comments of that entire article was about?
don't
30
need
people
Uncharted
having
1.
an essay of
Why Uncharted needs a
Uncharted
remake.
1 should have been remade first. It needs.
How about
it
we
more.
don't remake PS3 games? That wasn't that long ago. I can name you so many PS1 games that are in desperate need of an overhaul.
Yeah.
Especially with today's graphics.
Yeah.
Don't. Make
Legend of
change,
Dragoon. Legend of Dragoon deserves a remake or at least a sequel.
Yeah, make a sequel.
Sequel I could live with more than just dude, here it is again.
Did Demon Souls really need a remake?
No.
No, it didn't. But it rocks. It definitely rocks. Did it need one? Probably not. Does Bloodborne need one? Probably not. It's going to get one.
No. What Bloodborne needs is just a simple PS5 patch for 60 frames.
True.
Okay?
True. It definitely needs that. But they'll remake it and they'll make a shitload of money off of it because I'll buy
Will
it.
that come out before Elden Ring?
Oh, man. That would be something, huh? All right, and then camera talk real quick, and then we're out of here. Camlink Pro, the new Elgato. Jerry put me onto the Camlink Pro, which is an 4 HDMI input 4K PSIe slot that you put on your computer, and you link it to OBS or whatever other I mean, there's really just OBS. You link it to OBS, and then you use your Stream Deck to be able to control all the different inputs. So Elgato coming out, really building a nice ecosystem. So what's cool about this is that it's 4K, right? So the big thing about the ATEM is not
it's 4Ks, dude.
4K. You can record 4K. You can't do that with an ATEM. It only exports 1080, which sucks. It's the one thing that I wish because I love the ATEM, but not being able to record in 4K definitely sucks when you have a rig that can actually pump that type of bitrate out there. I bought one.
No.
I couldn't help myself. It's $360, but I said, you know what? Let me try it out. Let me try it out because, it'll definitely make me happy. So we'll see how it actually works when it gets here, but it looks pretty cool. The only thing that worries me is that the cam links fucking sucked. They were very bad. They never worked. They always were like laggy, or the connection would drop. Just doing the HDMI to USB was not smart. That was basically
Right.
it.
That's where I was gonna say is like the biggest issue too is just it's a USB and it sucks.
Yeah. So with this being
So actually
PCIe,
popping it in, maybe it'll be better. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
we'll see. Like, once you push a lot of data through this, you're really gonna strain it. We'll see. I don't even know if I can fit one in. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do it, but I'm excited to try.
If you're running it with a Stream Deck, it does seem pretty sick.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wireless
suck that it's-
ATEM essentially, because I do the Stream Deck on my phone. So I'll show you here.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I have a Stream Deck, but I have the desk back there is where I do my filming, so I have to do it wirelessly, and then I just do it on my phone, and it works great. And then it's basically an ATEM now, with that functionality.
Sort of, because the downside is it does lose the one of the bigger features of the ATEM is that you can pipe it out to another monitor.
Yeah, true.
Like there isn't a way for you to then output this signal outside of your production stick.
Yeah.
PC
So the
or
way that
whatever.
I'm going to be monitoring it would be from this computer, full screen on OBS.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You can't record out from it. You have to record only
Right.
on the local PC. That's probably also going to be streaming. So it's not perfect. It would be great if Blackmagic just released an ATEM Mini with 4K, but for now we'll try this out and we'll see how this goes.
But then I don't know. I'm very intrigued by like it working with Stream Deck because I
Deck
think
rocks.
you
I've
can
been
do
using it
some
for years.
really cool stuff with it. But then also, is it as good as an ATEM? You know,
I would say it's better.
Like,
I would say it's better because the way that the Stream Deck works is it
think
just
it's better
utilizes
depending on what
OBS. It just utilizes whatever your
Yeah.
computer does. ATEM is pretty limited in like how slides work, how transitions work, on how green screening works. Like OBS, there's so many different plugins that you can use, and then the Stream Deck, you just do macros, and it's, you can set it up that way, and it's so easy.
Yeah, no, like that's where it's interesting because I think there's a lot more cool things you can do with macros, but there's also a lot more points of failure, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's we're still talking about it. It's Elgato software, dude.
I know that's
Like-
what's scary. That's what's scary.
Yeah.
I'm happy. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. I'm excited to
I
try
do
this out.
also find it interesting that they're just straight inputs. That's the coolest thing to me.
Yeah.
Also, it's like if you want to run 4 cameras, you can run 4 cameras, but you could also run a camera and an iPad and
Mhm.
an Xbox or a PS5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I think there's definitely some cool things that could be done with this.
But you
it's
could
just
essentially
more-
run.
It's just nice.
You can
get
essentially
actually
run an
4
ATEM
4Ks.
to it. You can also run an ATEM to
Yeah.
it, technically.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. So here's the resolution: 1080 up to 60, 1440 up to 60, and 4K up to 30. All inputs. So no 4K 60, but that's crazy anyway. It's using DirectShow as the software interface, which is better than USB video class. multi-view, multi-input, multi-app, Stream Deck integration. I'm curious to see how this all comes together. I'm excited to try it out. Oh yeah, I forgot they had the Stream Deck Ultra, whatever this one is. Big ass Stream Deck.
The gigantic one.
Yeah. Now they just need a 4K 60 or 4K 120 plus thing, and then they're good to go. All right, and then last, Canon released their firmware, which I did a video on, firmware 1.3, which included C-Log 3, a brand new IPB light codec, which is way, way smaller, as well as a 120 1080. So really nice sort of upgrade to the R5. And when I was shooting in the modes between All Eye and IPB Light, which is a drastic, let me see if I can find the numbers here. A drastic, so for 4K 30, All Eye is 470 megabytes per second, and 4K 30 IPB Light is 85 megabits per second. So a drastic difference. 4K 60 goes from 340 to 170. 8K goes from like 1700 to 340 megabits per second. Huge decrease in file size, and you really don't lose any quality. I mean, it's so hard to see a difference between the two, which is really cool. So I don't see any difference. I don't see any reason why you would use IPB. You might as well just go IPB Lite, save even more storage. And if you wanted just like that, just knowing that you're getting all the data possible, you can run All Eye, but the IPB Lite is really great. And then the C-Log 3, you get about an extra stop. I don't think you get much more than that. You get an extra stop. You also get
super nice though.
Yeah, very nice.
Let's be real.
Well, it's also the way it rolls off is like a little bit better. It's just a little bit more natural. You can kind of see in this shot here, like the way that the highlights roll off.
The R6 got it too, which is very tempting.
Yeah, the R6 got the same thing. It didn't help any overheating things. The last patch did though, so the last patch was pretty good on overheating. It's still something you kind of have to think about when you're using these cameras. They're still hybrid cameras at the end of the day. But we do have an RC coming out, so you might just want to wait for that if you're a video person. And then finally, the C-Log 3, you also get a little bit more color depth. It's just more accurate colors for some reason. For some reason, I don't know if you can see here, but the quality difference or the color difference between the C-Log and the C-Log 3, you can see like the C-Log is just a little bit more yellow, or just doesn't bring out the reds as much, where the C-Log 3 does. And I've just been running my camera IPB Light, C-Log 3, 4K HQ, and have had no issues. It's been great. This is what this has been on the entire time. And happy to see this. Now let's see what else Canon can release in terms of cameras now.
Dude, hell yeah. I mean, for me, it's mostly C-Log 3. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fun, interesting, cool feature, and I think they needed it, so I'm happy. Yeah. Just because it does. It matters, basically. I don't know. Like, if you get better image, go for it, because that was one of the arguments for Sony. Is like, just do have a better dynamic range. Yeah.
I think Sony still has like 1.5 or 2 steps more dynamic range on average from C-Log 3 with the A7S III and the new whatever their gamut is. There's also Canon Cinema Gamut, which is a little bit different than 2020 or 709. It's pretty
hard to
pretty
compete with how much I actually just want to go Sony because of the stupid Cinecam. But
the FX3.
Yeah,
the thing rocks. It does rock. So cool stuff in camera world. Kind of a drought for
it's been a drought for video stuff.
Yeah, it's like new interesting things to talk about in the camera world. It's kind of like last year was just like a fucking wave of awesome shit, and like there's no shortage of good shit right now. So we're just kind of like, all right, well, if you want new shit, you're just gonna have to keep waiting. And we have rumors of an A7S4 or an A7 IV rather.
That's been around forever, and maybe that will be the R6 killer.
Yeah,
I fucking hope. But
and then we have the rumors of the RC, which would be like the A7S III killer. Everything's
which would also be sick.
Yeah,
there's still been also those rumors of like the cheaper Canons, which have always been interesting to me. But like, when will they come out? Who knows?
Yeah. We're just kind of waiting.
So
and,
far, like this year, we've had the FX3, which is sick, but it's just a
niche.
better bodied 7S3.
Yeah, definitely a niche market.
And then top of the end line, like photo cams, which are really cool, but I don't personally care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not buying an A1, dude.
No. All right, that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Go take some pictures of your feet, upload them to WikiFeet, and have some guy troll you for the rest of your life. And just remember, if you ever have any sort of trauma, the internet will never let you forget it. Okay? Bye-bye.